He should be coming on anytime.
Good morning, you guys. Today, Dr. Kim and I are going to be talking about communication secrets to help strengthen your marriage. But before we begin, Eli's best friend is officially back in stock. You can find it at Amazon, Baby Book, or even Barnes & Noble. I'll add the link below after this. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, we're excited about that because it went sold out, which is great. But then it's been out for a couple of weeks. Everybody's got it back now, and so I think it's a great Christmas gift. And so, love for you people to go take a look at it.
I love my copy.
Yep.
I read it to my husband, and he thought it was the best book ever. Okay, so Dr. Kim, if I have no idea what my spouse thinks about communication between the two of us, how can I initiate that conversation?
I think it's such an important thing because I think usually men and women look at it differently. And a lot of times I think as guys, we think we're hitting it out of the park and we're just not, maybe we're talking to our wife, but we're not relating to them kind of in the way they want to be related. So asking them to rate it 1 to 10 scale. Hey, what do you think our communication is? And say your wife says, well, I think it's about 6, and you think, God, that was a 9. Say, okay, well, what can we do to get it from a 6 to a 9, from where you think it is to where I think it needs to be? And then you just get that communication. And it may just be, I don't think you're listening when I'm talking to you, or we just don't make it a priority. And so some days we do it, but sometimes we just don't take time to communicate. So asking your spouse is really good. And then talk about, after you communicate, you should feel more connected.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking, if you're sharing, if you're giving prayer requests to each other, if whatever it is, that should draw you close together. And then that's where when we use stop, look, listen as a tool of when you're really talking, you stop other things, you look your spouse face to face. Nancy and I both need that. We can both be distracted. So when we're really talking, we've got to look in each other's eyes. And then it's a lot easier to listen. It's a lot easier to say, okay, this is what you said, or this is what I think you said, or come alongside your spouse with that.
Yeah. I have learned a lot since I started working for Awesome Marriage, but I have to say, stop, look, and listen. It's probably one of the best marriage tips that I've learned because it is so beneficial. I mean, if you just walk into your home and you stop, look at your husband and listen to what he's saying, your conversation, it can go from having awful conversation skills to just, being great, being at a 10. And it's helped Boone and I a lot.
That's so cool and I think it's one of those things, the more you do it, it's more natural. Like we
Yes.
it may be a little awkward at first, but kind of push through that awkwardness till you get some results with it.
Yeah. What are some basic tips to start communicating better?
I think that kind of what we're going to, most of us don't really set aside time to talk. We just we think about it. We think that's a great idea and we don't do it. So I think actually I was just on a podcast with a guy and we were talking about that with dads and saying, you got to schedule things. And because we have all our meetings and stuff, schedule that, and just so it happens, because if you don't schedule, it may not happen. So when our kids were little, it was usually after they went to bed. And we would sit down and that's when we'd have our talk time. Now it's usually when we're both together in the evening, when we're both home together, that we sit down. How was your day? What's going on? Anything we need to talk about. I think you just have to set aside time. If you don't, it doesn't just happen.
So, am I here?
You're back. You're back.
Sorry, I was gone for a little bit. I heard that if you have communication problems and you have all of these issues come up, but you never actually stop and communicate with your spouse about it, it's not going to go away. It's just going to eventually build up and build up and build up over time. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think, always say marriage doesn't stand still. I think you're either moving forward or backward. And if you're not moving forward, then you're probably moving backward. You may not be going fast backward, but it's those little steps backward. Eventually, you're really distant from each other.
So if you have a problem, you need to discuss it with your spouse. Schedule a time and just do it.
Absolutely. And if you need to go to counseling to kick things off, that's fine. I mean, most of couples have communicated at least at some level, or they wouldn't have gotten married probably, And so it's just getting back and maybe building on that is what you need to do, instead of just avoiding each other or just saying, well, this is too hard. Don't give up on it. You need to continue to persevere. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So for our tip 3 or question 3, do you think knowing our spouse's love language makes a difference in our communication?
Yes.
How so?
I think I want to love Nancy in the way where she experiences love the most, and hers is quality time. Mm-hmm. And so when I know our whole marriage, that when we have quality time each day and each week and have a date night, things are really good. And when we don't, it's not as good because she doesn't feel, I mean, she knows I love her, but she's not experiencing that connection and that closeness. And so I had to learn that that is a real priority for her. And so I need to learn to love her like that. I mean, I've said it before, my mom's was gifts and my dad did that great, but gifts, it wasn't Nancy's. And so
Yeah.
the gifts, she liked them, but it didn't make her feel loved the same way. Me just saying, hey, we gotta have quality time together. And I think as guys, a lot of times with the love language, we think, well, I did it today, so I don't have to do it again for a week. It's
Yeah,
kind of like you got to keep
absolutely.
doing these things that, I think it was Dobson that first said, James Dobson, that we have a love tank and it has to be refilled every day. That tank is going to empty. You may hit a home run today, but you don't have to hit a home run tomorrow, but you got to hit, got to hit singles every day. You got to do something.
I love that advice. That is so true.
Yeah.
So what are some communication secrets that will help any coupling struggling with communication?
I think you want to affirm your spouse, validate your spouse, listen to your, I think listening is such an important part of communication. And so that's why stop, look, listen really helps. But you've got to know that this person is listening. I think we've all been in front of people that we're talking and we know they're not listening. They're
Yeah.
looking around the room at something else or
That is so
whatever.
irritating.
And you just want to grab their face and go, look at me.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a dad tell me one time his little 3-year-old and she grabbed his face and said, listen to me when I'm talking to him. And he goes, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But I think the things too of just your communication, everything's got to go together. Virginia Satir said that your tone of voice, your body language, and your actual words all make a part of it. And your actual words are only 7% of it. So my tone of voice and my body language is what really communicates to Nancy. So if I'm telling her I love her, but I'm screaming it and, I'm angry, she's
Yeah.
not going to hear I love her. And that's why when couples come in for counseling and they'll say, well, you said this, you said that. I really believe both of them because everything didn't match up. So they didn't hear what you thought you said. And so that's really important. And just doing that consistently will really help, really make a difference.
Do you think that, so say I told, I was screaming at Boone, I love you. And he obviously wasn't listening to me because I was screaming at him. Do you think that like me, like the spouse knows that I'm like, my tone of voice is off?
No, I think
Like
sometimes
it's
we
just,
don't.
it's normal. I don't think about it.
I think sometimes we do. And I think sometimes that happens just growing up in different households.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people are louder than others. And so, what may be screaming to you to Boone might be just normal conversation.
Yeah.
So I think all those, that goes back in knowing your spouse and being a student, understanding. But if I'm screaming and, my face is red and hot, I mean, it's pretty obvious I'm angry.
Yeah.
And so and I love you at that time is not gonna,
It's not going to cut it.
it's not gonna come out very well.
Yeah.
No.
Well, those are great tips. I appreciate that. So, Giving Tuesday is next Tuesday, November 30th. And if you're thinking about donating to Awesome Marriage and have any questions, please send us a message on Facebook or send it to me. My email is Lara, Lara at awesomemarriage.com, and I'll answer any of your questions. And we really appreciate you guys for everything that you do, even just for tuning in today. We appreciate it. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Have a great weekend
Thank you guys.
or week. Don't do that.
It doesn't want to shut off.
Can you sing for us?
No, I do not have a good singing voice. It is terrible. I can maybe play some music on my phone.
It just says it won't shut off. Isn't that interesting? In the broadcast, no error has occurred, and so it won't let us shut
I
off.
could leave the studio, but if I did that, I would leave you on here by yourself.
Well,
I'm not going to do that.
Now, you want to do that? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.